Hey, what's up, guys? This is Tanner with 10-8 Round, back with another episode of the MMA Cash Cage podcast, obviously our exclusive gambling podcast for 10-8 Round. Now, I have to quickly touch on last week. After the whole event, reviewing all the fights, there was a lot of fights I liked, but only one I pulled the trigger on. If you watched our show, you knew that it was the Juliana Pena fight. We won. We won. That's the thing I can say. We certainly won. I'm happy that we won. I'm happy that if you bet with me, that you guys cashed out on it. But I cannot say that's how I thought that fight was going to go. Nico Montano certainly won the first round. I think she was winning the second round till she fucked up, and then she kind of threw Juliana Pena on top of her. Pena controlled the rest of that round and then ended up winning the third. We won a 29-28 fight in a fight that I thought was going to be a blowout for Pena. But hey, we're up 2.77 units. Obviously, it's not a ton of units, but for one play, going 1-for-1, can't really complain. So I did want to touch on that. So if you're following our picks so far, we're 1-for-1. 1-for-1, baby. And we're going to keep pressing forward. Today, actually, though, we have three different plays. I've been reviewing this card. There's a lot of interesting fights on it, in my opinion. Bruce Leroy's on it. I love that fighter. Against Steven Peterson, I didn't really know enough about Peterson, to be completely honest, to have a good opinion on it. So I just kept that fight out, but again, he's on there. A couple interesting fights on the card, but betting-wise, we're going to start off in the prelims. It's going to be Irene Aldana taking on Raquel Pennington. Looking at both these fighters just quickly, Irene Aldana is 10-4 overall, 3-2 in the UFC, won 3 in a row, and coming off of a win against Betch Correia. And then you look over at Raquel Pennington, 9-7 overall, but 6-4 in the UFC, and currently on a 2-fight skid. So when I was looking at this fight, I saw Aldana was a slight favorite, which wasn't really surprising nor non-surprising to me. I wasn't really sure how I felt about the odds until I kind of watched the fights. I mean, I feel like they're probably close to where they should be. But Irene Aldana, if you watch the Betch Correia fight, her most recent fight, only in May too, so it's not very long ago. It's pretty fresh. She has really good footwork. She moves quickly around the cage, and she moves intelligently. And very fast striking, but if you watch the Betch fight, she just almost exclusively throws a 1-2. Just 1-2, moves out of the way, 1-2, moves out of the way, 1-2. I mean, it's just constant. I think there was one time I counted in the fight where she threw an uppercut at Betch. I mean, that was like the only mixing up she did past just throwing a 1-2, which if it's effective, fine. And it was effective to a point. I mean, she beat Betch in the first round, but I truly believe Betch came back and won the second round. And I think she was probably winning the third round until she went for a takedown. Aldana got on top of her, got her in an armbar, and finished that fight. Now, it was impressive for Irene Aldana. It wasn't like she looked bad in it by any means, but she didn't look great either. Excuse me. And Betch Correia is a fighter that Raquel Pennington also fought, and Pennington beat Betch. Again, probably won 2 rounds. In my opinion, she won 2 rounds. Won 29-28, split decision. But looking at Pennington in the UFC, in my opinion, at 9-7, this seems not like a trap, but it seems like a fight that, oh my God, 9-7 versus 10-4, we're going to bet 10-4 all day. And I think that, if you don't know anymore, it's not a very good strategy. But at 9-7 for Pennington, she's 6-4 in the UFC, and I'm just going to go over her losses quick. Amanda Nunes, who obviously is the current champion. Germaine de Randamie, who we just saw take out Aspen Ladd in 16 seconds. Holly Holm, former champ, and although now she's kind of on a little downward skid, it was a split decision loss to Holly Holm. And Jessica Andrade, also current champ. Some of her wins. Jessica Andrade. She actually lost to Andrade by split decision and ended up submitting Jessica Andrade in their rematch. Betch Correia she took out, and Miesha Tate she's defeated. So she has some good wins in the UFC, especially at 6-4. All of her losses are against legit competitors. And you're taking on a girl like Irene Aldana, who, again, isn't bad, but I don't know that she has really the same skills that some of the people that have beat Pennington have. I think, again, probably more polished. Aldana's striking is probably more polished than Pennington's. It's probably faster. Her footwork, I think, is better. But when it comes down to a fight and a 3-round fight, I just think that Raquel Pennington is going to find a way to make this fight dirty. I think she gets it against the cage. She showed it in the de Randamie fight where De Randamie was very strong. She's very physically strong. That's been shown time and time again. And she was kind of able to control her against the cage for a while. Wasn't able to get her down really, but just that cage control is important. And a fighter like Aldana, who isn't really put in those situations, like in the Betch fight, she was just kind of teeing off on Betch and then just backing away and teeing off on Betch. Betch really never pressed the action until the second round, and even when she did, it was very limited clinch work. She just kind of was throwing big strikes, backing her up a little bit against the cage, but nothing major in the clinch department. So when I'm looking at this one, honestly, my play here is Pennington. I'm going to go with Raquel Pennington. I think she gets it done. I think she can win a decision here. Don't be shocked if she loses the first round. She kind of feels it out, and she might get caught with a couple punches. But I just think she's going to get this fight to the ground at a point, and I think she could do enough to get a decision. Currently, Pennington is a plus 125 underdog. So my play on Pennington here is 3 units. Again, it's not a sure bet. It's not a sure shot. But I think that she's being a little undervalued here. I think the fight should be almost even odds. And again, Tecia Torres, she's dating Tecia Torres. I just think around her after a 2-fight skid, I could see Pennington coming back in here, getting back on track against a good Irene Aldana. So we will see. But again, 3 units for Raquel Pennington, and that is the first play of the night. Moving on to, I think, 3 from the top. It's not the co-main, but I believe it's 3 or 4 from the top. Oh, 4, because of course, Greg Hardy's in there too in the mix, being in the top couple fights, which is awesome because Greg Hardy's done so much for the sport. I digress. The next play actually is something I very rarely do in MMA. It is an over-under play. I hate over-unders, honestly, just because who knows? You don't know. Someone could just be playing it safe and it turns into a decision, or someone could be really going for it and, it just, you didn't expect them to finish the guy and they did. But this one I like for some reason, probably because of the odds on it. It's pretty much even money odds. Minus 115 for over, minus 115 for under 2.5 rounds in the James Vick Dan Hooker fight. Now, James Vick is a guy who, he was kind of surging for a while. He's at a point right now where he's cooled off for sure. Lost to Paul Felder most recently, was knocked out by Justin Gaethje just before that, which was kind of an incredible performance for Gaethje. But looking at his UFC career, 5 of his 9 wins are by finish, and he has some good power. He has good kicks. He has a good submission game. James Vick overall is a guy who has the ability to put a lot of guys away in that division. Insert Dan Hooker. All 7 of his UFC wins are by finish. And looking at Hooker, too, he has a good submission game, very good kicks and knees. This, personally, in my opinion, makes for a really good stylistic matchup. It makes for a fun fight. And I think with Vick being on the 2-fight skid that he is, I think he's really going to go after it, get in there and go after it in this one. Looking at Dan Hooker, he's coming off of a loss as well, but he knows what he could do. He's exciting in there, and I don't know. I really think, in my opinion, I think Hooker's probably going to win this fight. I think Hooker's going to put Vick away at some point, but I don't like him as a bet at minus 145 as much as I just like the fact that I think someone finishes it before 2.5 minutes at the third round. So my bet here is under 2.5 rounds, minus 115. That's also going to be 3. All of my plays are going to be 3 units today, I decided. So under 2.5 rounds, that's a 3-unit play. That one is a fight I'm excited for, a fight I'm excited to watch, and I really think that we could see a fast fight there. And that's what I'm hoping for, obviously, because, win some money while we watch it. After that fight, this is the main event of the evening. It's Leon Edwards taking on Rafael dos Anjos. Honestly, this is a very interesting fight. Just looking at both the competitors involved, Leon Edwards is a sneaky, and I say sneaky because he doesn't get talked about other than getting beat up by Masvidal backstage. No one really seems to be on this huge Edwards train. Edwards 17-4 overall, 9-2 in the UFC. kind of crazy, man. You know what I mean? Kind of crazy. 9-2 in the UFC. I'm pretty sure he's on a seven fight win streak. So it seems like he'd be getting a little more attention than he is, but he isn't. And I don't know why. He beat Cowboy, and it wasn't a one-sided beatdown. I mean, I think he did clearly win the fight. I think all the scorecards were 48-47. I think it's, you could have called it 49-46 for Edwards. But I think the most important thing to see in that Cerrone fight was the way that Edwards fights, his style. He's very calm, very patient, and he just kind of waits. He's a counter striker, and when someone gets over aggressive, he tends to throw back. He has really good elbows on a clinch exit. I've seen that in a couple different fights I watched of his. Every time Gunnar Nelson actually put him down when I think he might have broke his orbital, smashed Gunnar Nelson with an elbow on the clinch exit, hit Cerrone with it several times when they fought. It's very good sneaky technique he has. When he has been taken down, he has good ground get-ups. Cerrone was able to get him there briefly. Gunnar Nelson was able to get him there again briefly. So it's an interesting fight because he kind of controls the pace that he wants. And, no one, well, he's been beaten. But, recently in the UFC, he's been able to dictate where he wants the fight to go and how he wants the fight to go. And he just kind of fights at range and his style. Insert Rafael dos Anjos, obviously former lightweight champion, 29-11 overall, and has had mixed results up at 170. So looking at the fights that he lost, the Colby Covington fight, Covington, when he started that fight, it was, I was a little surprised that Covington kind of came in like a bat out of hell. He just ran at RDA right away, got right in his face, and just had, immense pressure almost the entire fight. He was just kind of right there on top of him, wouldn't let him breathe, had him against the cage, and then kind of threw reckless strikes because he wasn't really worried about RDA's wrestling as RDA was worried about his own wrestling. So, Covington had a good game plan for that fight, obviously, against RDA. Covington won that fight, I think, pretty clearly. But something of note, anyway, in my opinion, is that RDA was able to take him down. He took him down twice. Didn't have wild success when he did take him down. Covington was able to get back up, obviously. But just the fact he was able to put Covington down was something that I thought was at least noteworthy, as Colby Covington is a very elite wrestler at 170, an elite wrestler for the entire UFC. Then you look at his fight where he just took on Kevin Lee. I saw that RDA was an underdog in that fight, honestly, and it was surprising to me. I just believe that RDA was the better fighter, one, and two, Kevin Lee's gas tank has shown time and time again to not hold up through 5-round fights, and it was more of the same there. Kevin Lee probably won the first round, took RDA down. As the fight went on, though, RDA was just clipping him with shots, ended up getting it to the ground, arm triangle in the fourth, and put Kevin Lee away. Biggest takeaways from that fight, realistically, were, to me, that, even in the third and fourth round, when they were at distance and RDA would throw just a hard jab or a kick, RDA still throws with power late in fights. Even in the Covington fight, he had a couple powerful shots late in that one, and he was, he should have been, I guess, exhausted, or most fighters would have been exhausted to that point where he just kind of had the same demeanor. He obviously is a little more tired than he is in the beginning of the fight, but it didn't seem to completely drain his gas tank like it does to some. So RDA is a guy really who's going to be in there for the full 5 rounds. It's hard to put him away. Edwards has shown he's a hard guy to put away, and it really makes for an interesting fight. I think the odds in this one, though, are very interesting, as you have RDA as a plus 115 underdog. Probably right around where it should be. Usually when the odds are, they're just typically not what they should be. For a lot of these fights, I feel they are pretty close to where they should actually be at. I just have a weird feeling, and just through watching different fights, Dos Anjos destroyed Cerrone. And again, MMA math doesn't work. Leon Edwards went 5 rounds with Cerrone. But I just think that Dos Anjos, especially with his wrestling ability, his strength in the clinch, I think he's going to be able to get this fight to the ground, and if he can keep it there for an extended time, I think that he could end up winning a decision. I think it's a close fight. I really believe it probably is a decision. I don't see really either one of these guys putting the other one away. Another thing in this fight, I think, for Dos Anjos is leg kicks and body kicks are going to be huge. As Edwards tends to stand at range, he kind of waits to counterstrike. RDA has really good leg kicks. We've seen it in the past. He has really good body kicks. We've seen that in the past. I think he needs to use them tonight, and I think that if he can use an effective kicking strategy, he can mix in a couple takedowns, I could really see RDA winning this one. Now, from Leon Edwards' perspective, obviously he just has to fight his fight. He has to keep it at range where he wants the fight, and he just has to watch out for the explosive techniques of RDA. Obviously, watch out for him mixing in takedown attempts. He just has to stay composed and just stay in there and land counter strikes when he sees fit. But I think it's a close one. It really is. It's hard to call, but I just have a feeling. I think RDA just does things. He's a veteran of the game. He mixes his game up a little better than Leon Edwards, who is a wonderful striker. But I mean, Leon doesn't technically or tend to mix in takedowns really. So I'm going with RDA. I think it's the play here. I think it's a close fight again, but at the end of the day, I really believe RDA is going to win it, and that's my other play for the night. I'm going to take RDA 3 units, just because I went 3 units on everyone here. But I believe RDA has a good chance to win, and we'll see if he can get it done tonight. So hopefully he does. That's all my plays for today. Quickly do want to shout out though that Monday I don't have work, and this video is coming out so late. I apologize. I just been working a lot. I finally had time to sit down and get it recorded. But Monday I don't have work, so Josh and I are going to get together and we're going to work on our 240 breakdown. I'm probably going to work on a gambling prediction video. I'm going to try to have it all done early next week. Hopefully the videos will be out on Tuesday. And you'll have some time to watch it before the next UFC pay-per-view, 240. We'll be out a week before it, well, not a week, 5-ish days, 4 days, whatever. But you'll actually have some time to watch it so you don't have to cram it in a few hours before the event starts, which is not a really good way to do it. But, hey, I just wanted to get this out there, get it done because I've been working on it. So they're the 3 plays. Rafael Dos Anjos, the Vic Hooker under 2.5 rounds, and then Raquel Pennington, all 3-unit plays. Good luck, guys. Hey, I'm taking these same bets too, so I'll see you next time when we talk. Hopefully we won a little bit more money. Thank you.